haven't yet, try to go back and watch our kettlebell deadlift video. If you're pretty confident with that already, you can kind of jump right into this, that's fine. But we definitely teach the deadlift first before we do the swing. Reason being is because they're both hinge positions, and it really shows you a slower way to kind of get into that right positioning, talking about the deadlift before you get into the swing. So it's a great start for that. But before we talk about the swing, we're just going to go over the height pass, okay? Because the hinge position of the deadlift will set us up for the start of the swing, but the height pass is just as important. Oftentimes people lose that at first, and then the swing kind of looks a little bit sloppy. So if you go over the height pass first, you get used to it, and then you can kind of progress to the actual swing itself, okay? So, just gonna tilt the bell a little bit. As far as the positioning goes, so last video we had talked about kind of standing over the bell for the deadlift because you want the weight nice and close to you so that the back doesn't arch or anything like that on the pole. That's not going to work here, of course, because we need to actually hike it in. So a good distance away from the bell is usually about 2 feet. So if you'd like, you can actually use your own 2 feet to kind of measure that out, and then from there, find your stance. At some point, you'll be able to just kind of eyeball it and step where you need to, but of course not too far away from the bell and not too close. Because if this isn't quite directly over it, but it's still a little bit too close, because I'm not going to have as much momentum on the hike. Okay, so just remember that, all right? So just for positioning's sake, I'll use my own feet, and then with my feet where they're planted now, about shoulder width apart is good. It's actually, it helps you contract your glutes a little bit more in terms of the actual swing itself. You can go a little bit wider if that's kind of preference. It truly is just preference, but kind of get a feel for it. Try different stances with your feet as you go, okay? But I'm going to use my hands and the crease of my hips to chop them back, okay? Get myself loaded over my heels in that hinge position. Once I reach for the bell, it's going to be a little bit of a tilt. I like to do that to know that I have my arms fully extended and that it's truly going to be a full hike, whereas if I was too close, wouldn't really work out all that well. So, tilt the bell. I want to pretend like I'm trying to snap the handle. Okay, so see my elbows turn in? That's going to activate my lats a little bit more and allow the bell to stay close to me, okay? And then all I'm going to do is just a couple height passes in a row. I'm not even going to stand up yet for the actual swing, okay? So notice how I hike it up and high and tight into the triangle above my knees, okay? I don't want to sweep it so low that it's down by my ankles, because that's going to make the actual swing itself a lot harder than it has to be, okay? So basically you want to feel the connection of your forearms, like I said, high and tight in the triangle above your knee. The taller the bell, the more likely, yes, the bell will sweep low in the swing, that's fine. But truly your hands are the reference. You want them above your knees for sure on everything, all right? So once you get confident with that hike pass in terms of the timing, when you feel the bell pull the weight over your heels, that's when you want to basically, to put it simply, stand up as fast as you can. I know that sounds weird at first, but that's kind of how you want to simplify it, okay? So again, I'll get my positioning in. I'm just going to do one swing at a time, all right? Just so you can kind of see the setup. Because sometimes you hit a perfect swing, or a swing that feels really, really good, but then the down part, leading into the next swing, that can get tricky too. So we'll talk about that. All right, so chop my hips back. I want to pretend like I'm trying to shut like a car door with my butt, okay? Because that helps me pull into that position. That's another way to think about it. Grab the bell, tilt it, snap. Okay, so just one swing at a time. Now when I get comfortable with the down part, I can start to string them together, sets of 5, sets of 10, you know, whatever it may be, depending on the weight itself. But what you want to make sure you do, because yes, the way up is just as important as the way down, you don't want to bend your hips too early. That's where we see a lot of injuries happen, or not right away, you know, but if you do enough swings like that, it'll lead to that eventually, okay? So basically, I'm gonna do a couple swings with no bell at all, just so I can go really slow and you can kind of see what I'm talking about, all right? So then I have the bell, so I hike it in. Once I make that connection and I feel loaded over my heels, I want to stand up as fast as I can. Notice how I'm not dipping forward. That'll throw off your swing for sure. So bell makes that connection, stand up. So at the top, when I squeeze my glutes and lock my knees, that's where I get that pop, okay? So my hips are fully extended, the bell starts to float. I don't want the bell to go really any higher than this, okay, because that's just excessive, and there's a little bit too much momentum on the way down. But anyways, notice it looks like I'm in a high plank position, push-up position at the top. That's important too. You want to feel nice and solid right here. As the bell starts to come down, I want to wait until right about here, or even further if I can, to bend my hips. Because once the bell gets in this area, I can allow the path of it to pull me back to that loaded position for the next swing. So I go right back, pop, bell floats again. What you'll notice happen if I start to bend now, right as the bell starts to actually fall, it kind of gets away from me a little bit, it shifts my weight, and the bell's going to go a lot lower than it has to. So you see here my chest is about parallel to the ground when I hinge too early. That I'm really going to start to feel that in my lower back after a little bit, if not on that first swing, okay? And then notice that kind of takes my hands way lower than my knees, so that's going to make the next swing even harder than it has to be, all right? So I like to do this with my clients a lot, and yeah, I even did this when I first started. Just pantomime a few swings, just like I did right there. So it's like hike it in, pop the bell up, stop it in that high plank position, starts to float back down. Right about here, I follow the path of that bell to that loaded position, right into the next one. Okay. So it flips. Make sure you're using your legs and not really any other part of your body. That kind of sounds weird, but your hands truly just hold on to the bell. Your arms will guide the bell, not let it float away, of course. But your hips are what drives it. All right. If you recruit too much of your upper body to do it, you're taking away from the true point of the movement, and most likely you're going to hurt yourself. Okay. So remember all those things I mentioned, and try to notice all those little points during these 5 to 10 swings I'm about to do. Okay. Not gonna lie, but now that you saw a couple swings in a row, there's some other things I want to mention that you probably didn't notice before. But what helps you in terms of positioning, especially when you start to get fatigued or string together a bunch of swings, is your gaze. Okay, so at the bottom of my swing, I want to focus on something that's kind of lower on the horizon. You can't see her right now, but Nano, DeMarco's dog, is right over there, so I'm looking at her at the bottom.
Hello, Nano. She's very interested in this.
Exactly. So I'm looking at her at the bottom, but when I get to the top and lock out, I'm just looking at the cars over here, okay? So 2 points to focus on, because my chest will follow my eyes, all right? If I'm looking too high the whole time, down here at the bottom of my swing, I may be a little bit restricted. My chest may be too high. It's gonna throw off the next swing. When I actively force my gaze lower, that'll help me pull back to that position where I want to, the most loaded, stable position, okay? So it also helps you kind of zone out a little bit. You want to pick those two points of contact on the horizon, okay? Other things to help, because you'll notice sometimes when you get fatigued, kind of like DeMarco had mentioned in our deadlift video, which hopefully you've already watched at this point, kind of rooting yourself to the ground. So what helps is, you can't really tell that I'm doing it, but I'm trying to spread my feet and force my weight kind of on the outside. So here I'm kind of more neutral, and then you see I'm shifting a little bit, okay? What that does for me is it forces my knees out so that they don't want to cave in at all. And it just, it activates more muscles on my leg, making it a stronger swing altogether, okay? That part can go easily unnoticed, and you can, I would even argue, say, get away with not doing it, but every little bit helps, okay? Especially on a swing, especially when you're first learning to swing. So you just want to root yourself to the ground, so that bell doesn't dictate where you go, you dictate where the bell goes, okay? So that's the kettlebell swing. One more thing about the breathing. So I know in a way to clean up your swing, I just mentioned the gaze and everything, focusing on those 2 horizons. The breathing is just as important. I know a lot of clients of mine and just people in general probably don't really pay attention to that part throughout any exercise. They just kind of breathe as they go. It's not like they're actively holding their breath, but when you optimize your breathing, it's going to enhance everything, whether or not you realize it. especially in an exercise like this where it's more strength endurance. You know, there's definitely strength because you're moving a lot of weight, and endurance because you're trying to do a lot of reps. So the 40 kilogram bell takes a decent amount of strength to do that, and I definitely need my breathing to be able to do, you know, 20 plus of those, even 5 of them. Okay, so what you really make sure what you want to do is you want to, when I hike it in, I'm going to inhale through my nose, and then as the bell's coming up, when I get to right about here, I'm going to do a sharp exhale through my teeth. Okay, so quick power breath. I know that kind of sounds awkward a little bit. You may feel funny doing it, but I promise you it's going to be to your benefit. So, and then as the bell's floating back down, right about here, I want to initiate that inhale through my nose again. Okay, so right on the backswing. Okay, so I'm just going to do a few more reps where I kind of emphasize the breathing. If you weren't able to kind of pick up on it from earlier. So I promise you, if you want to progress your swing even more so, getting the breathing in check is going to be, of course, like I said, to your benefit. So that's just one last thing I want to mention on that. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy our content, please subscribe to our page, join the Strong Squad, and yeah, thanks for coming. So we'll see you next time on the snatch video.